always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Kicking off another brand new day here on the Steve Gruber Show, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom. God bless America. Always wants to make me ask, who do you want in your foxhole? All right, we're burning daylight. We need to get rolling. Let's get to it. Three big things today. Number one, Republican Senate Majority Leader says it's time to change the rules because Democrats do not understand anything except absolute power. Number two, the French government has collapsed for the second time in, 9 months? And it means the far right, led by the now convicted Marine Le Pen, is back in the conversation. Emmanuel Macron back in hot water. And number three. So what's it going to be that drives the midterm elections? Is it going to be the economy, the border, or has crime now moved into the number one position for voters? I think crime might make its way to the top. Folks, let me tell you about Irina Zarutska, a beautiful young woman from Ukraine who came to America chasing the dream we all hold dear, safety, opportunity, a fresh start. You haven't heard much about her until the last couple of days. You see, on August the 22nd, 2 weeks ago or more, that dream turned into a bloody nightmare on a Charlotte, North Carolina light rail car. Irina was viciously stabbed to death by DeCarlos Brown Jr., a thug with at least 14 prior arrests, including assaults and weapons charges. Eyewitnesses watched in horror as he plunged the knife into her over and over again, one into her neck that was fatal. And while she fought for her life, she died. President Trump addressed the tragedy yesterday. Here's what he said.
I just give my love and hope to the family of the young woman who was stabbed this morning or last night in Charlotte by a madman, a lunatic. Just got up and started. It's right on the tape. Not really watchable because it's so horrible, but just viciously stabbed. She's just sitting there. So they're evil people. We have to be able to handle that. If we don't handle that, we don't have a country.
Who can argue with that? It wasn't just some random act. It was the inevitable result of a broken system that coddles criminals and spits on victims. And yet the media, crickets, zero stories in the New York Times about Irina in the weeks after her brutal murder. But George Floyd, 5,897 hits. Trayvon Martin, 1,190. Even Kilmar Abreu Garcia got 56 stories. But Irina, none. Nada. The elite press only cares when some crime they like fits the narrative. Remember Daniel Penny? Of course you do. The Marine vet who heroically choked out a deranged subway attacker in New York City, potentially saving many lives. The press crucified him. 100 stories painting him as a vigilante monster. But DeCarlos Brown Jr., a violent career criminal who butchers an innocent woman, oh, he's just someone with a mental health issue. Tepid coverage at best. Excuses at worst. And Axios, oh, good Lord. They pivot from Irina's gruesome video straight to blaming MAGA influencers for elevating urban crime stories and accusing the media of undercoverage. Drawing attention from MAGA, they say. Yeah, because someone's got to do it. If the mainstream won't tell the truth, we will. This double standard runs deep. Bartenders get sued and held liable if they serve too many drinks, who later drives drunk and kills someone. But DAs and judges, they release violent repeat offenders back on the streets. And when those thugs murder again, like Irina's killer did, those enablers walk free. No accountability. I support Congressman Randy Fine's proposal in Florida. Hold judges personally liable when the violent offenders they release with no bond and no consequences go on to commit new heinous crimes. Make them co-signers on that freedom. Civil suits, financial ruin, make them feel the sting. Maybe we should stop protecting the protectors of predators. Let them have a little skin in the game. Let the predators ride next to their daughters on the A train. I bet things would change real quick then. Now Charlotte's mayor, V. Lyles, has the gall to call sharing that gut-wrenching transit footage disrespectful. Disrespectful? What's disrespectful is ignoring Irina's story, pretending her life didn't matter because it doesn't fuel the anti-cop agenda. The mayor's out there virtue signaling, releasing a statement equating mental health issues to cancer that deserves compassion. And get this. She says Charlotte can't arrest its way out of these problems. Lady, if compassion means letting knife-wielding maniacs roam free, count me out. We've got a revolving door of justice where predators like Brown get slaps on the wrist, and victims like Irina pay the ultimate price. It's not compassion, it's complicity. Speaking of failed leadership, look at Governor Josh Stein. In response to Irina's murder, he points to his budget request for more police officers. More cops? The police did their job. The police did their job. They arrested this guy 14 times. It was the judges and the prosecutors who let him off the hook every single time. No amount of new badges is going to fix a weak judiciary. And here's where it gets really shady. The magistrate judge who released Brown last time, Teresa Stokes, turns out she's also the director of operations for a mental health clinic right there in Charlotte. She did the same thing back in the day in Lansing, Michigan, not that long ago. So she's running a mental health clinic. She let him out. Conflict of interest? Could she be funneling these criminals, these troubled criminals, straight into her clinic to cash in on government contracts, releasing them to treatment that lines her pockets while they terrorize our streets? If we follow the money, there's a good chance it's rotten to the core. It's not just Charlotte, like I said. She started in Lansing, Michigan. How about Chicago? William Livingston, repeat offender with a rap sheet longer than a CVS receipt, released multiple times despite assault charges. He randomly punched women in the street, leaving them bloodied and broken, but it didn't matter. Listen.
This man came in between the two of us, shoved us apart, and then hit me in the face.
That punch left Miles with several broken bones in her face, as well as a concussion. According to police, she was assaulted by 32-year-old William Livingston. A record search produced 13 mugshots of Livingston going back to 2012. A large number of those arrests for aggravated assault and battery of both women and police officers, something Miles found out after the fact.
Like, what is enough? You know, what does someone have to do where he's going to be, they're going to be held accountable?
What is enough? 13 arrests, 14, 15, 25? Police charged him again, but the question lingers, how many more victims are going to be killed before the woke judges wake up? This is America's major cities under Democrat rule. Endless second chances for criminals. No chance for the law-abiding. No chance for the law-abiding. And it's not about color, it's about crime. If you're a violent criminal, you get taken off the streets and put in jail. That's the way it works. We're going to take a break. It's outrageous, isn't it? Truly is. Welcome to it. It's the Steve Gruber Show. We're going to expose it for what it is every single day. I'll be right back. Reporters are part of the problem as well, as you know, because as you look at Arena's story, it was not published in the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC, nothing. Because the criminal here is a black man and the victim's a white woman, it doesn't get reported. Now, if it was reversed, there's a white guy killing a black kid, it'd be leading every newscast, 24/7. You know that. You know that. Reporters try to spin it. They love dragging up Memphis or St. Louis to prove crime's not what it's supposed to be. It's not what we say it is. But guess what? Over Labor Day weekend, 2025, Memphis and St. Louis both recorded 0 murders. 0. Chicago, dozens shot, scores shot. At least 8 dead. Some said 11. There's so many dead bodies, it's hard to keep track. Illinois' Governor J.B. Pritzker is trying out the same narrative. Listen to this.
Writ large. This is a nefarious endeavor that he's going into what blue states, blue cities. You don't see any activity in a Republican state or a Republican city. And yet, when he says it's all about crime, those Republican states have higher crime rates. Those Republican cities have higher crime rates. So, this isn't about that. We should know that, and the public should know that. And I think slowly.
It's a lie. As I've told you and will continue to tell you, 19 of the 20 most violent cities in America, 19 of the top 20 worst, are run by Democrats. And when it comes to states like Tennessee, you've got Memphis, run by a blue mayor. It's off the charts in violence. Same thing when it comes to New Orleans, run by a Democrat mayor, off the charts. Mobile, Alabama, and so on and so forth. Birmingham, Alabama, so on and so forth. It's a losing argument. It's a lie. It's an absolute lie, and they know it. Many Democrats aren't even trying to hide their embrace of crime. Illinois Congresswoman Delia Ramirez, a squad member, newly inducted, has this to say to her constituents. Listen.
We have to continue to resist, and this moment demands courage. It demands us to understand that we must obstruct and do everything we can to oppose any of these authoritarian actions against our cities.
Yeah, they want crime. We're running on crime. They so badly want to make Donald Trump, and not the career criminals, the villain here. And Donald Trump is setting the record straight without mincing words. Listen to this exchange with a reporter just a couple of days ago. Here it is.
When you say that, darling, that's fake news.
Well, why would the Department of Defense?
Listen, be quiet. Listen. You don't listen. You never listen. That's why you're second rate. We're not going to war. We're going to clean up our cities. We're going to clean them up so they don't kill 5 people every weekend. That's not war. That's common sense.
The fake news gasped, but the people cheered. I've got sources telling me right now the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, has operatives on the ground in Chicago, has for a while, mapping drug cartel operations. The National Guard could roll in at any moment fully prepped. Trump's not bluffing. He's building the America we deserve and cleaning up the trash. All while left-wing shadow operations seek to tear it down. Look at those so-called protests in D.C. last weekend. Manufactured outrage, pure and simple. Bust in, out-of-towners. All wearing identical shirts, waving the exact same signs you've seen at every left-wing circus from BLM to climate hoaxes. Stephen Miller nailed the deep state this week, exposing how the D.C. Police Department's been concealing crime stats to hide the chaos under Democrat control. Listen to this.
And the president spoke about this before. We've uncovered, in the process of uncovering, a massive scandal in Washington, D.C. with the doctoring of crime stats. And the Department of Justice, under the Attorney General, is leading the effort to uncover this. But when we ultimately share the results, it will stun you. The extent to which, even though D.C. had the worst crime in America, honestly measured, it dramatically understated how bad it was. There's even accusations that murders and homicides were reported as accidents instead of murders. I mean, this is how severe the manipulation of the crime data has been in this city, and it will all be uncovered and it will all be brought to light. You know, I've had a chance to spend some time, as does everyone here, with the police officers in the city. Members of the public are going up to them and thanking them, just overflowing with gratitude.
Well, the Democrats would rather lie than face the problem of crime head on. Why? Why? A former Chicago police leader says he thinks it's because they're afraid of what it would reveal, the truth. Listen to this.
Ridiculous. You ask why they don't want to do it. If I'm going to say a simple answer, I think they're afraid. I think they are afraid that people will see what can be done if politicians commit to taking action and really want to make a difference. That's the only reason I can think of, because otherwise it makes no sense. And if you look at what Mayor Bowser has done in D.C., she's embraced it, and it's made a huge difference. I wish they would learn from her.
She finally got on board. You know my thoughts? I think part of this has to do with the fact that they'd have to admit that people commit crimes, not guns. They'd have to give up their war on guns, because with crime down and arrests speak, of course they are. And they're going to continue to do that. Of course they are. The problem will always be the same in Chicago. Crimes won't be addressed. Guns will be taken away. Criminals will just keep cycling out on the streets to claim more victims, like Irina Zarutska. Americans of all political associations need to say enough is enough, or the bloodshed will continue, because we obviously can't count on Democrat leaders or mainstream media to actually address the issue. Coming up on an update on the dramatic crime drop in Washington, D.C. And by the way, BLM, Black Lives Matter, if that were true, they would support this crackdown on crime. They would. If you're a business owner, and you're ready to scale, but you're feeling like you don't know quite where to go, not sure what's holding you back or how to break through, I've teamed up with Grant Cardone to help you get through, giving you a free strategy called Uncover the Biggest Bottleneck in Your Business. Walk away with a clear, customized action plan to fix it. Plus, get expert insights, proven systems you can start using right away. Claim your free strategy call today. If you're in business at all or want to be, this call is free. You start at Gruber10x.com, Gruber10x.com. I have followed these principles at our companies. It works, folks. So I want you to get the opportunity that I've had. Gruber10x.com. Make the call. Get signed up. Let's go. Let's go. I'll be right back. All right, let's do some math here, shall we? Let's do some math here, all right? Here we go. And the math is this. Now, where did you go? The math is this. In the last 28 days, there have been 5 homicides in Washington, D.C. 5 in 28 days, okay? If you annualize that rate of homicide, you would end up with a homicide rate of 63 per year. And August the 11th is the key day, because that's the day that Donald Trump brought in federal troops to crack down on crime in D.C. 5 homicides, 28 days. That would equate to 63 homicides annually, okay? That's 0.1724 a day. 0.1724 a day times 365 is 62.93. That's the simple math of it. The average over the last 25 years for annual homicides in D.C. is just under 200. This is less than a third. At this rate, it's less than a third of the homicides. How can anybody sit there and tell you it's not working? Again, Black Lives Matter. If that were true, they'd be all in support of this. All in support of this. Have you seen gold lately? Gold's going crazy over the last few days. Crypto's starting to go back up. Elites got rich off crypto. Where were you? Where was I? Getting left behind, but not anymore. Block Trust IRA changing everything, bringing the crypto opportunity to real Americans just like you and me. With crypto fueling President Trump's America First economic miracle, now is your chance to join the movement. The Animos AI trading platform runs 24/7, crushing old school strategies and helping patriots like you build serious wealth, just like all those other folks. It's been named the #1 crypto tech platform by Bitcoin Magazine. Some are seeing returns of better than 200%. Remarkable. A teacher, a trucker, retired, doesn't matter. This is your chance to get in. Get up to $2,500 in bonus crypto when you sign up. $2,500 bonus crypto. What do? Go to SteveGruberCrypto.com to find out more. SteveGruberCrypto.com. Find out more right now. I'll be back.
Did you know that when you make
All right, back to it now as we're going to dig deep into your health today. We're going to spend a lot of time on your health today. We're going to start here with our next guest, Dr. Stephen Quay, a physician scientist with more than 380 published papers, 7 FDA-approved pharmaceuticals, over 12,000 citations across oncology, infectious disease, virology. Yeah, he's got street cred, to say the least. Doctor, thank you for being here.
It's great to be here, Steve.
All right, so I see a lot of people, especially politically motivated people, arguing about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. when it comes to vaccines. And I was doing some reading here about this compound. I want to start with this because I was just reading about this yesterday. Thimerosal, a mercury-based additive it's still in all of the flu vaccines. It's known to be dangerous. The people in labs won't even touch the stuff. They put it in special containers because they don't want to be too close to it because they feel it's dangerous. And yet, if you go get the flu shot today, this stuff's in there. This is just one thing that came, just one red flag to start my conversation with you, sir. What is this
Okay,
stuff? Why do we have this crap in our vaccines? Go ahead.
Well, it's a very well-established preservative that's used in materials when you can't sterilize them by standard means of high temperature. It has been studied pretty extensively, and the quantities are extremely small. Having said that, any mercury compound tends to accumulate in the body, so you don't really excrete it very well. So I believe it's time in 2025 to transition to better preservatives.
So,
having said that,
you agree with me on that? Maybe it's not hurting somebody. Maybe it is. Nobody's quite sure. And if it accumulates and you get a flu shot every year, or maybe more than one, it builds up. Okay, what other concerns did I have? What about all of these vaccine conversations? Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on the receiving end of a lot of criticism. Is it justified criticism? Is he in left field, or is he onto something?
So I think what he has done is he's created an opportunity for a conversation about the clinical trials that have been done to support vaccines. So as you said, I've invented 7 drugs that are FDA approved. And so the standards for safety and efficacy by the US FDA are the highest in the world. Other countries copy our efforts. So that, having said that, if you look at the clinical trial design studies and data for vaccines, they're not done in the same fashion. They're not placebo-controlled. They're not double-blind. So I think it would be quite interesting to begin to do some clinical trials in the vaccine space with modern design. I think when I look at the landscape of pediatric vaccines, where you're getting 17 or 18 shots by 10, you may get 70 to 80 shots by the time you're 21 emancipated. I think I would like to look at whether, okay, one vaccine is safe and the other vaccine is safe, but if you give them both at the same time, do they happen to have some synergistic side effects that might be interesting to look at? So
I think that's reasonable.
I'm really doing my data.
And again, I'm going to go to your resume just for a moment. Received your MD and PhD at University of Michigan, trained at Harvard's Mass General, conducted postdoctoral research at MIT. I mean, when it comes to a resume, you're about as well papered as anybody we can talk to. And what you're telling me here, maybe Bobby Kennedy's right, maybe he's wrong, but it is a legitimate conversation to be having in 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. So with Jay Bhattacharya now running the National Institute of Health, fellow Stanford faculty member with me, he is going to create the opportunity through grant proposals and the like to do some of these cutting edge clinical trials in a lot of different areas, including the vaccine space. And so I'm quite interested to see those studies, the design of them, what kind of outputs they'll have. But we have a situation where, we went from having a few vaccines in the 50s and 60s to now having, as I'm repeating myself, up to 80 shots in a person from birth to age 21. Then we have parallel new epidemics.
Let me jump in there. I want to jump in there on one of those vaccines that's given when the child is born. That's a hepatitis B vaccine, correct? Given the day a child is born. And Bobby Kennedy's argument to that is, look, if you're not an intravenous drug user, if you're not having unprotected sex, and all the other things that lead to this particular disease, why are we giving this vaccine to newborns? I think that's a legitimate question. What say you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, the thing that Secretary Kennedy didn't mention was that, we're taught in medical school that from birth to about 4 to 6 months, you do not have a robust immune system. The reason breastfed babies, do better with infectious diseases than non is because the breast milk has the antibodies of the mother. So she is transmitting her entire infectious disease resume to the baby during breastfeeding, which is missing, in a formula-fed baby. So having said that, I'm not sure what immune system they're trying to stimulate by giving you a vaccine on day one. It has been shown to be effective, but it's in that very narrow population that you said, which is, and you have 9 months to figure out whether the mother's an IV drug user or abuser, or is exposed to hepatitis B. So that's one that I would be very interested in seeing, being placed in a different place in the overall schedule for vaccines.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of questions about what's in the shots themselves, be it aluminum, mercury like thimerosal, other ingredients that, like you said, if you have 60, 70, 80 shots, some of these things build up. I wouldn't recommend it for my child necessarily. Now, having said that, there are certain childhood vaccines that you probably support. Is that true?
That's absolutely right. I think one of the ones that rises to the top when you talk in those terms is the measles vaccine. So again, let's do a little teaching here. So the vaccines are designed to stop the transmission of diseases. Good nutrition, general health, getting sunlight is designed to change the severity of the infection. So we actually got rid of 90% of the lethal effect of infectious diseases before the first vaccine came about, from 1900 to 1950. 90% reduction in lethality, and that was due to nutrition, and overall health care. Having said that, the measles vaccine has a pretty high incidence of hospitalizations, residual CNS effects, so brain effects that you can have. So that's one where it's really useful. The challenge is that you need 95% levels in the community to prevent spread. It is the most transmissible virus we've ever seen, with what's called an R0 of 12 to 15, which means every child who gets infected will transmit it to 12 to 15 other children.
Right. A lot to learn out there when it comes to disease, but we need to keep studying. I think that there's a great conversation to have here. I think it's a legitimate conversation, and just demonizing Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for asking questions and challenging the status quo, I think is probably not a great place for some folks. That's my position. Look, I'm always about asking more questions and discussing it further. I got about 30 seconds for you to have the last word.
Okay, so I think one of the big conversations in the last week was mandates. And I think the answer there is to say there's a natural experiment in not having mandates. United Kingdom, they have the same vaccines we have. They do not have mandates. Parents and doctors decide for themselves what's best, and they have the same overall infectious disease rate that we do.
So it's not killing people to let parents decide. That's what we needed to know. Doctor, I greatly appreciate you being here. You come back anytime. It's a teachable moment, and we need to have people be smarter. Not more vocal, but smarter. Dr. Quay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Take care, Steve.
We can continue talking about health throughout the rest of the morning here. We'll be back after this. All right, back to it now. Listen, it's health. It's kind of our, it's kind of the lane we're in today. Your good health, and it's important. We just talked about vaccines with Dr. Quay, laying the groundwork for the next thing. The next thing we're going to talk about here are head injuries. As minor as they may seem, every head injury is probably a major concern, that being concussions. Look, every time you ring your bell, as it were, you have to wonder. Ivy took a spill. We were out doing wake surfing and so forth. Took a spill here last weekend. Wham! She goes, I think I rang my bell a little bit. I said, you got a concussion? No, I don't think it's quite that bad, but she was a little, felt a little funny. So you got to protect yourself. My next guest has spent the last many years trying to protect everybody he can from getting a concussion. Dr. Michael Hutchinson joins me from Traverse City, Michigan. Doctor, nice to see you today. And
Good morning, Steve.
I say you've been trying to protect people because you invented a mouth guard that deflects the energy, if you will, so it doesn't go into your brain, it dissipates, and so people do not get concussions at a rate that's remarkable. It's been studied by Michigan State and Wayne State. It's called the NeuroGuard Plus. Tell the folks how this thing works, because it does work.
Well, I brought along my patient here, and let's see if I can get it lined up. This is the most important thing right there that we all ignore. The position of the jaw is so important in deflecting the forces of concussions up to the brain. If you can put your jaw in a passive position, it deflects the G-force away from your brain. And this is the key to dropping concussions down to 0.2%. It's the only part of the skull that's not protected in any sport. And so just by doing that, you can almost eliminate concussions.
Yeah, go ahead. Show us that again. Hold it up higher a little bit, just so we, right there, and move it towards the center. You're going to hide behind it a little bit, but show the folks, no, you're going to hide behind it. Lift it higher. There you go. Show the people the jawline here is where the alignment here protects the brain when done properly, is what you're telling me.
Right. This is it's called the condyle, and it's basically the ball of the socket. And if you're opened up too much, it's going to rotate to the front of your skull and translate that force there. If you're over close too much, it's going to move towards the back of the skull right here, and again act as a conduit for the force that is inflicted upon your side of your face, your jaw. That just gets translated to the cradle of the skull. It's called the sphenoid bone, and it produces enough force to injure your brain. So we have to protect the jaw, and we do that by placing your jaw in what's called the physiologic jaw position, and we use that mouth guard, if you will. I don't like to call it a mouth guard because it's more like an orthotic, a lift for your shoe. It puts your jaw in your own personal, unique physiologic jaw position.
And you've had this on athletes around the world for years. I don't know why everybody doesn't use it, to be honest with you, but you do have some professional athletes. You've got college athletes. My son, you asked me in the break, my son's been using this mouth guard, I guess, playing football the last 3 or 4 years. No concussion, right? And some of the teammates do get concussions. I mean, it's football. He's in 8th grade now, but still no concussion. He used it. So it's a success story. I don't know who you've got it on right now, but they're not getting concussions, are they?
No, Devon Williams, Jacksonville Jaguars, has had it for 3 years. No concussions. I'm not sure how many he's had previously, but almost every football player. The current concussion rate is 20% over the last 60 years. So if you play any sport for 5 years, you're going to get a concussion. The odds are against you. So we need to change the way we're doing the protection of our jaw and our skull. And this is the missing link. This is the key to reducing concussions down to 0.
And that's really what it's all about, is making sure you don't get because look, we've seen the studies. You get your bell rung a couple of times, it changes. It can change your whole life. You get a bad concussion, it can change the direction of your life, can it?
It absolutely can. I have a lot of examples of that, people I've met, And what we're finding out now is they call subconcussive impacts, where you may not display the symptoms of concussion, but each time you receive an impact to your skull, it adds up over time, and the CTE can come down later in your life because of all the concussion hits that you receive. So it's not just one event. In most cases, it's all those bashing of your head throughout the years that you play that add up. And so, any way we can deflect away the impacts is a good thing.
So I just want to say this. It's not football. We talk a lot about football, but it's soccer. Girls basketball is especially traumatic. I didn't know that till I started talking to you, Doctor. You said, hey, those girls basketball players, they get concussions a lot. In fact, like you said, any sport, I don't care what you do, it can really cause problems. And we need to avoid getting these head injuries because it can have long-term negative implications for you or your kid or your grandkid. Doctor, last word to you.
You know, every family is touched by concussion. I think all of us know somebody or have personally experienced a concussion by even just doing what we do, riding our bike, going out to shovel a walk and fall down and hit your head. Every sport, even cheerleading, has a high incidence of concussions. And if we don't look at every aspect of the possibilities, and I'm talking
We got
about
to
the
knock
job.
them down. Yeah, got to knock them down. NeuroGuard Plus, by the way, folks. NeuroGuard Plus, before I run out of time here. Go find it. If you use the promo code Gruber, you're going to save some money on that deal. It's well worth every nickel because you won't get your bell rung. Doctor, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Have a great day. See you later.
NeuroGuard Plus. NeuroGuard Plus. Look it up right now. I'll be back. I'm just watching the most embarrassing video ever. It's two women, police officers. Nothing wrong with that, doing their job, but they can't take down this little fella. 140-pound guy. These two are struggling. Finally, this big Samoan-looking fella comes in, puts him on the ground. There you go. Thanks. Thanks, ladies. Greatly appreciate it. Walgreens going away. I mentioned this a bit ago, but I want you to know that private equity takeover for Walgreens means more Walgreens will be closing. So CVA, Rite Aid, Walgreens, they built these things on every street corner in America, it seemed, there for a while. They're just slapping them up, slapping them up, slapping them up. How many in your neighborhood are gone now? How many are just gone? I mean, we're talking about health this morning, a lot of it. The health of America. We are the sickest nation on earth. And now we're closing pharmacies because we built too many of them, but it knocked out the mom and pop pharmacies along the way. That's the problem. Knocked out the mom and pop pharmacies along the way. Well, if you want to be prepared, the wellness company is there for you. The wellness company is there. Did you know that most methylene blue being sold online is the same grade used in fish tanks? Watch out for low-quality bottles that are untested for heavy metals and made overseas. Same thing we talk about all the time, quality. You can trust the wellness company's Recharge, a doctor-formulated supplement combining powdered methylene blue with NAD+ and PQQ. This methylene blue is USP grade, ensuring top-tier purity for maximum safety and effectiveness. This is not the sketchy stuff you find on Amazon, all right? Recharge, formulated with research-backed ingredients to optimize brain function, cellular repair, supporting clean, lasting energy. Tap into the cognitive and metabolic support that helps you stay energized, focused, and resilient all day long. Choose a trusted formula made for your body, not for the fish tank. Feel the difference with enhanced mental clarity, sustained energy, sharper focus, and protection against cognitive decline. And no, it won't turn your tongue blue. TWC.health/Gruber. TWC.health/Gruber. Use the promo code Gruber. You'll save 10% and get free shipping. More about your health. More about your health. It's really important. When we come back. always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
All right, it sure is, and welcome to the program. Glad to have you back for the conversation as we kick off another brand new hour here, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom every single day. Who do you want in your foxhole? It's an important question. Look, it's getting tougher out there all the time. Do you wonder what happens next in America or in the world or on crime? Of course you do. All right, here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, Walgreens could become a thing of the past, and soon. I mean, a private equity takeover means that more stores are closing. Told you about that. Number two, the Supreme Court hands President Trump another huge win on immigration, giving the green light for ICE raids to resume in California. And number three, back to the conversation we were having in the last hour. What is really in your vaccines? Time to talk about your health today, and it stems from a post on Truth Social by President Trump yesterday. It included a damning video about thimerosal. And that is something you should certainly know about. Thimerosal is a preservative. It's a mercury-based product. And as the Dr. Quay told us last hour, mercury is one of those things that builds up in your system. It does not flush out easily. They told us it would. The proponents of these vaccines and thimerosal said it would flush out of your system. Well, that's not really true. Heavy metals tend to build up in your system. So what is in your flu vaccine? What's in your flu shot? Actually, most vaccines, even those for kids, have some things in it you probably don't want. Donald Trump put this out on Truth Social yesterday. Listen.
Show them the thimerosal ball, which we keep in a metal container because we're a little afraid of it, and it's a very fine powder.
This is thimerosal, which is labeled very toxic. Has cumulative effects, can cause damage to the kidneys, to the respiratory system, skin, to the nervous system. It specifically warns on here that it can cause reproductive and developmental toxicity, meaning that it can cause things like autism and other neurodevelopmental disorders. This is immensely toxic stuff.
And it's in vaccine.
And this is what's in the vaccine. It's important to realize we're talking about a whole range of products. Vaccines are a big one because, of course, you're directly injecting it. For example, this is tetanus vaccine. This one expires, it's a little outdated now, in 2007. Here's the thimerosal. 1 to 10,000 is a preservative. Perhaps the biggest one in the U.S., at least, that's for exposure to mercury is the influenza vaccine. Influenza vaccine is now recommended for all pregnant women, all infants, all children on a yearly basis. You're supposed to
have last year's influenza? Understand that thimerosal is not added at the end. It's not like, well, that factory next year can make thimerosal free. Thimerosal, you either have to have a thimerosal free factory or you have to not have one. They add thimerosal at each step because the factory is not clean and not sterile.
Pretty shocking, isn't it? Pretty shocking. It's in the vaccines, a lot of them. That tetanus shot that he had there that was expired 2007, and I'm not quite sure how old this video is. It's not a new video, obviously, by the looks of it. Posted on Truth Social by President Trump yesterday. But I sat here wondering, how many tetanus shots did I have in my life prior to 2007? The answer, several. Several. Also had flu shots along the way from time to time. What other shots I have? And in my schedule for vaccines was far fewer than those being given to kids today. And as the doctor said here the last hour, Dr. Quay said, before the kid reaches to be about 6 months of age, their immune system not developed at all. Their immune system's coming from their mother, primarily. If they're breastfeeding, that's it. She's sharing her immunity with the child. That's why breastfeeding is so important, and why kids that breastfeed grow up to be healthier as a general rule than those that do not. So why would you give a Hep B jab at birth? I'm still waiting for somebody to explain that to me. It's a fair question. And if you want to hate on Robert F. Kennedy Jr., that's fine. There's some things that he has said and done that I have no agreement with. Kooky things, actually. But when it comes to vaccines, I can't help but say again, I think it's a reasonable and legitimate conversation to have. Why do we have 70 vaccines or 80? He contends that the chickenpox vaccine led to the outbreak of shingles in older adults. Is it cause and effect? It's a legitimate conversation to be having. Oh, by the way, thimerosal, it's not getting any better, not one bit. Here's more.
This is the influenza vaccine from Adventist Pasteur, their flu zone. Thimerosal, 25 micrograms of mercury per dose.
I'd like to point out that a lot of people didn't know, and I'm one of them. I've given 2,000 RhoGAM shots. I've been in vaccines for 35 years. I didn't know that RhoGAM had thimerosal in it. So I think a lot of the doctors were unaware. They were unaware that even the word thimerosal meant mercury.
Yeah, thimerosal meant mercury that builds up in your fatty tissues, places like your brain, your kidneys, your nervous system. Ever wondered what the impact of that would be over time? We know what lead poisoning does to kids, of course. What about these other things? I think they're reasonable questions to have, my friends. I'd love you to send me a note. Send me an email. Go to stevegruber.com. Send me an email. Say, here's what I think about the vaccines. Maybe they're an issue. Maybe they're not an issue. I don't know. There is some conversation. You know this, Tylenol linked to autism. That's what Robert F. Kennedy is apparently going to say, that pregnant women that took Tylenol, that had a cause and effect, or at least causational relationship to autism and the explosion of autism in America. Is it Tylenol? Is that the environmental problem? Wouldn't that be something? Tylenol, I think, came online about 1955. I'd have to go back and look, but I think that's about the right time. Worth the questions. Asking questions doesn't make you a kook. Refusing to answer the questions and being weird about it, that does make you a bit kooky. I think asking questions, more questions, is a good idea. This part of the program is sponsored by PureClean's Veterans Initiative, PureVet. PureVet, because life after service deserves opportunity, ownership, and purpose. PureClean is a reclamation company. They'll help you clean up after the flood, the fire, the disaster that hit you, right? Well, they're offering an opportunity for veterans to have their own franchise, to get to the front of the line. PureVet.com. You can find out more, or you can give them a call, 855-PureVet. Frank Torrey and his organization there are putting veterans first, and I can't say enough good things about them. PureVet.com. Check it out. If you're a veteran, or if you know one and you want to have a chance at owning your own company, this is it, friends, right now. PureVet.com. I'll be right back. All right, here we go, buying right back into it all, keeping you front and center on everything that we get. Look, we're talking about health today. AI is something that can really help us with health, I believe. But AI is such a dicey thing. It can be great or it can be greatly dangerous. My next guest thinks that AI could put a lot of folks out of business. Heard that before. Is it true? Maybe. Jeff Dornick is the founder and CEO of Pickaxe, is the host of the Jeff Dornick Show, and a lot more. He's on Maverick Media in different places. Jeff, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to chatting with you.
Good to have you here. All right, so look, AI, in some ways, look, I'll take an Optimus robot right now to vacuum the house. I'm cool with that, right? But when it gets down to it, AI can also do some very dangerous things. It can put a lot of people out of work. It can monitor you and I 24/7, whether it's with this device or that television and everything else. What are your concerns, Jeff? When you look around the room and you see AI peeking at you from every corner, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, for me, you look at AI, and I always say on a micro level, on a specific instance level, it can be very beneficial. It's beneficial to a lot of, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, small businesses. They streamline things. They can basically do the work of 5 people by, harnessing AI. There's a lot of phenomenal tools that AI brings about, but also on the macro level is where I have a lot of the concern of where is this going. So like you mentioned, they're talking about, replacing jobs. And I think a lot of people, they think, okay, it's going to replace some of the, service jobs, the blue collar jobs, all that. No, they literally, if you listen to these AI big tech guys, they're literally saying that the AI is coming for everybody. And they're telling us out now. You listen to guys like Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Sam Altman. What they're actually talking about is that basically AI and these robots are going to be replacing everybody's jobs. Go back to that Tesla, big event that they had several months ago, where they rolled out the new robo-taxi. They also rolled out the Optimus robots, and in the promo video for those for the Optimus robots,
Sure.
they were actually showcasing them with being babysitters, teachers, attorneys, doctors. You just go down the list. It's coming for everybody. At a certain point, you're like, are they literally going to replace the need for human beings, which both Bill Gates and Elon Musk have said there might very
Some people
well
thought
be,
so.
people.
Might replace
Yeah,
human consciousness. Could replace human consciousness. That's a conversation that's been going on for some time. However, Mike Rowe has a different take on this. Mike Rowe, dirty jobs guy, right? He says not going to replace the plumbers or the carpenters or the electricians or the tradespeople. He said it's time to start skipping. He said he laughed because all these people were told to go learn how to code and do all these things. He said, well, the tradespeople are going to be protected. What do you think of that, Jeff? Yes or no? Are tradespeople safe or not?
In the short term, I would say yes. So the tradespeople are probably going to be the safest industries right now. Long term, I have a feeling that AI and Optimus robots are going to be coming for them as well. So in the short term, yes, probably the best thing you can do from an economic standpoint is either be an entrepreneur for yourself, where you can actually control your business in some way and you provide a service that only humans can provide, and then also have a trade, such as like what Mike Rowe was saying. But in the long run, AI is kind of coming for everybody.
Does that make us obsolete? I think that was the question, the point you're making, Jeff. Does that make human beings obsolete if these computers, AI, however you look at it, Optimus, whatever it is, has the ability to outthink us, outwork us, outperform us, out everything us, when do we become obsolete and irrelevant?
I mean, to be honest, if you listen to guys like Elon Musk and Bill Gates, they'll say within the next 10 years. Elon had a conversation with Benjamin Netanyahu not that long ago where they were talking about the end game of AI, and Elon explained it's going to go one of two ways. It's either going to go full on Terminator, or it's going to be heaven on earth, which he described. He went on to describe basically the Pixar movie WALL-E, where everybody's just sitting there, the AI and the robots do everything for you, and you can just sit there. You can be an all-consuming blob of flesh. You can just think of something, and it happens. You have universal basic income. You have all these different kinds of things, which to me, you're kind of taking away the whole point of being human once you go down that route.
This is why I fish, Jeff. It's the one thing I can trust. I mean, honestly, going outside, nature is the one that going all full circle, if you will. I mean, what can you trust in this world? I mean, you look at videos online, you go, is that real? You look at pictures going, is that real? Everything's generated. You've got deep fakes and all these other things going on. What's real? My connection to the world is walking barefoot across the grass or going fly fishing or doing something, which where you live in California, it's fabulous, by the way. but we've got to do something to stay connected as human beings. I think that's my takeaway from this conversation. We have to do something every day that makes us human. What do you say to that?
I totally agree, and this is one of those things I've been actually working through. At I have my own social media platform, and I'm like, how do we take people off of the digital world and into the real world? Let's get people together where they can have face-to-face connection. They can actually create community, get out into the woods, get out into the wilderness, spend time in real life. Because the digital life, it can connect us great to a certain degree, but there's a lot of limitations and a lot of ability to be manipulated through technology. We have to create human-centered communities, and that's what we're going to be lacking here coming up here in the future.
I agree with that. Jeff, how do people find you? I know you've got you've built a lot of different things recently to go wild in the ecosystem of conversation and thought without being restricted, which is really important, because that's the other thing about AI, silencing people like you and me, unacceptable. Where can people find you?
Yeah, you guys can actually go to my social media platform. It's called Pickaxe, Pickax. You guys can go to the website right now. You guys can sign up. You guys can follow me. I post all of my articles, all my shows, all of my interviews over there. So that's really the best place to find me. And then also, it's one place you can actually experience freedom of speech and freedom of reach, which with your own social media platform as well. So,
and you live in the People's Republic of California, so you must be breaking free. Jeff, greatly appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
There you have it. Pickaxe. Go find it. Pickaxe. Pickax. He's not sitting idly by and taking it. He's punching his way through a new trail, and I appreciate that. Breaking trail for other folks. Jeff Dornick. Go ahead and find him. We'll take a break. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Glad to have you on board. Look, send me an email, by the way, about your thoughts about these vaccines and the health we've been talking about through a good part of the program today, about these preservatives, mercury, aluminum. I mean, they can't be good for you, can they? No. Thinking can be good for you. That's why we like Jeff Dornick and others. All right? We'll be right back. Yeah, it's interesting to see CNN condemning Donald Trump now for bringing up the murder of Irina Zarutska. Well, he's just using that to promote his crackdown on crime. Well, yeah, that's a pretty good poster child for the crackdown on crime. She got on a public transportation train. She got on public transportation, her work uniform on, scrolling through her phone, looking at whatever's going on, gets stabbed to death by a career criminal. A violent career criminal stabs her to death. I think that's a pretty good thing for Donald Trump to grab onto and say, why are we allowing this to happen? Why is this continuing to happen? Charlotte Light Rail. I guess that's like a subway train. I'm not familiar with it, haven't ridden it. Won't ride it now. And then you go back to J.B. Pritzker. 10 tons of pure joy, J.B. Pritzker, who admits he wouldn't ride the L at 9 o'clock at night or probably at any time. The elevated train in Chicago, they call it the L for everybody who's not been there. I got on the L with Brother Shane once at a questionable time of night. And it got kind of spooky there for a bit. But We lived through it. Today, I wouldn't be on the L for, you couldn't pay me to be on that thing. There's no chance in hell I'd be on the L. No chance at all. If you want to lose weight and you don't want to take a shot for the rest of your life, My Pure Health Solutions is the place for you. I've got a whole bunch of folks. Let's see. What were their names? Had this couple from Indiana show up at Missy's office yesterday. Drove up from Indiana to Kalamazoo. Now, you don't have to do that. You can get it. You can do your scan anywhere in America. They just wanted to see her in person. So they came up, and gosh darn, I did not write their names down. But I appreciate them, the latest folks that want to lose weight. They don't want to stab in the leg. They don't want to take the shot forever. They don't want heavy pharmaceuticals. They want to figure out why their metabolism isn't working, and that's what they do at My Pure Health Solutions. They're going to help you lose weight the honest way, not replacement food, not fake shakes and fake food. Real food, real life-changing results. Go to GruberHealth.com. GruberHealth.com. Life-changing results. If you want to lose weight, what are you waiting for? GruberHealth.com. I'll be right back. All right, what are you counting on for your retirement? Do you have money? Well, the question is, I'm watching gold run wild right here, and that concerns me. I'm not going to kid you. Gold running wild concerns me. It is at 36.53, all-time record high. Not even close, all-time record high. It's been shooting up for the last few days. It's gone from 34.60 to 36.50. And what does that mean? Mark Goldwine, Senior Vice President, Senior Policy Director for a Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. To me, Mark, it's a red flag. I'll tell you that. Welcome to the program. Just one of many red flags.
Thanks for having me.
What do you make of this gold surge? Because I've watched it for a while. To me, it means the dollar not too good today. Silver also, not at all-time records, but real high, well over $41. Metal is going through the roof. What does that tell you?
I think you're right. I think people are losing faith. Investors are losing faith in the U.S. dollar and the U.S. Treasury, frankly, in U.S. institutions, and they're worried that our economy might be headed into a recession or worse, headed towards a debt crisis.
A debt crisis, and it's the most predictable in world history. A debt crisis would be. I mean, when it happened to Greece, when it happened to Portugal, that was predictable. They had somebody to bail them out. Who bails out the United States, Mark?
Well, it's hard to predict what. It's extremely hard to predict when. But you hit the nail on the head. If the U.S. has a debt crisis, what we see is a massive sell-off of U.S. treasuries. Those treasuries are the backbone of the global financial system. Then there's a banking crisis. Then there's a deep recession, a financial crisis. But who's big enough to bail out the U.S. government?
Nobody.
Maybe a lot of other governments band together, but I don't think so.
Yeah. So here we are, predictably $37 trillion in debt. Gold is there a safe haven anywhere? Is it cryptocurrency? Is it something else? Where would you put your money? Where would you hide?
Gold is going to be safer than crypto. But the thing is, and this is the irony of it all, despite all of these concerns, the United States is probably still the best place to invest in the world. We still have the greatest economy in the history of the known universe.
Yeah, that's all fine and well, but here you are.
What we need to do is fix it.
If you're 65 years old and the market corrects 20% or 25% or 30%, and the dollar isn't worth what it was, and inflation goes up, and your Social Security is in trouble, because that's the other part of this 1-2 punch. Your stock investments, let's say you got $1 million in the market, and you think, oh, I'm okay, I'm going to do okay. All of a sudden, that's worth $700,000. And then your Social Security payment goes down by 20 or 30%, because it will. Mark, where does that leave people?
Yeah, and that's I don't know if it will, but here's what the law says. Social Security only has enough reserves to pay benefits for the next 7 years. That means in 2032, the law says there's a 24% across-the-board cut. For a typical couple retiring that year, that's $18,400, an $18,400 cut in their annual benefits. Do I think that'll happen? No, because somehow, despite all odds, I have faith that U.S. politicians eventually will do the right thing. But it could happen. It's a high risk.
What is that faith? Hold on, Mark. I appreciate the sentiment and the optimism. But what is that faith based on? Previous performance?
What did Churchill say? Americans always do the right thing after they've tried all the other options.
Yeah, maybe.
Historically, when we've come right to the edge, we've pulled ourselves off the edge. So I'm not banking on that, but I still have faith, and I still keep the faith, and every day I work to try to make that faith a reality.
Fair enough. But you make a point about the one big beautiful bill, an economic sugar high, which I think is what I was talking about here at the top, which is, all right, the market is at, where are we right now? 45,500, just in unbelievable territory, right? But it's a sugar high, and you're not the only one that thinks that, Mark. A lot of people think that, and at the end of a sugar high, you have what? A crash, correct?
It's a crash. And look, we're not really feeling the one big beautiful bill yet. So we might have the first hit. That's maybe from the tariffs and the come down from the last sugar high. Then we might get a boost in 2026. That's the one big beautiful bill sugar high. But after that, what's driving the growth? Is it AI? Because it's not the underlying fundamentals. It's not our fiscal situation. It's not our institutions.
So you think that the one big beautiful bill could give us another boost, maybe late this year, next year? Of course, they got a second one of these coming out that they're working on. So I guess the long-term solution to the economy What is it to you? I mean, you got AI doing all the. I mean, I just had a guy here moments ago who said, "Look, AI is going to take a lot of jobs from people here and around the world." You've got an economy where we're over leveraged with debt of $37 trillion. You've got Social Security that has been on life support most of my life. They keep, short-term fix, short-term fix. No long-term. There is no long-term solution. It's a Ponzi scheme, and we don't have enough people paying in anymore. I mean, it's always been a Ponzi scheme to buy votes, in my estimation. I mean, where's the good news? Where's the long-term solution, Mark?
Well, look, I think we got to get our fiscal house in order. That could be done largely by fixing the Social Security Trust Fund, fixing the Medicare Trust Fund,
And
lowering
fixing it
healthcare
how?
costs,
Fixing it
egregious
how?
tax breaks. Fixing it how? We've talked about this. The politics of all the options are tough, but the levers are very easy and simple. You adjust the retirement age, you change the benefit formula, you can mess with the amount of income subject to the taxable maximum, use a more accurate measure of inflation. We've got a new policy coming out, some new policy ideas coming out next month. One of them is a COLA cap. So if you're the top echelon of earners, you're still going to get a COLA every year, but your COLA is not going to be higher than people that are in just the pretty top echelon of earners in the 75th percentile. So there's lots of options. The issue is the political will.
So a cost of living adjustment.
There's actually the opportunity to lower healthcare costs.
Right, but who gets to arbitrarily set the cost of living adjustment? Politicians. Oh, yeah, you don't qualify. I mean, one size fits all, which never fits all. We'll take the money away from Mr. and Mrs. Smith and Mr. and Mrs. Jones and Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, and, there's a train wreck coming to me.
There's all tough choices. This particular policy, everyone still gets a COLA. What happens is we say that, for example, your COLA can't be more than $1,000. Right, and so if you were going to get a $1,200 COLA, you'll get a $1,000 COLA. So it would be the folks at the top that can most afford it. There's no easy options here, but there are plenty of options, and we got
all tough choices. Here's the problem, Mark. All tough choices. You just said, and I agree with you on that, by the way. All tough choices. The problem is, very few people in Washington have the guts to make any tough choice at all ever. Because they all want to get reelected, because they all want to go to the parties on Friday night, and they all want to take our tax money and go party. Anyhow, I'll give you the last word real quick.
Well, here's the good news. We've actually seen them make some tough choices recently. Reductions in healthcare costs. We saved $1 trillion in the One Big Beautiful Bill. Tariffs, you can like them or you can hate them. Those are tough choices. So we know they can do it. The question is, can they do it where it matters for our biggest programs, Social Security and Medicare, and bring these programs in line? And I sure hope so.
I hope so, too. Margo One, Senior Vice President, Senior Policy Director for the Committee for Responsible Federal Government. Responsible Federal Government. Seems like a euphemism. Sir, thank you as always for being here.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Yeah, tough choices, except many in Washington don't like tough choices. That's the problem. No tough choice here. We'll take a break and be right back. Well, can you believe we're almost halfway through this week and working our way through it? We've talked about your health. We've talked about the health of the economy, and now we're going to talk about the health of your freedom of speech. Which, look, everything. I am a absolutist when it comes to free speech. There's just no. I mean, that's it. I don't have to like what you're saying. I don't have to like it at all. But it's your right to say it. You want to offend me, whatever it might be, irritate me, whatever. I'm all good with it. But so many people aren't anymore. They don't have to. Oh, it's only going to be happy talk. We can't have this kind of mean speech and hate speech, and that should be illegal. Wrong. Look what's happening in the UK. Tim Sandefur is the vice president for legal affairs at the Goldwater Institute's Sheriff Norton Center for Constitutional Litigation and holds the Duncan Chair in Constitutional Government. Tim, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
I've said, and I got laughed at by some of my friends like Esquire Bob, one of my attorney friends, who said, free speech isn't under attack in America. He's laughed about it for years. It is under attack, has been for a long time, and it comes in a lot of different ways. First of all, they can cancel you, which is a complete affront to free speech. They can not cover a story at all, which I think is another affront to free speech in a different sort of way. Well, what are you seeing out there that concerns you at the Goldwater Institute?
Well, one of the areas where freedom of speech is sharply under attack is your right to support individuals or organizations that you agree with, nonprofit groups such as the Goldwater Institute or other organizations that out there, you know, every state has their own free market organization and people donate their money to these organizations or advocacy groups. And unfortunately, what we're seeing in a lot of places is the government coming in with laws that force people to turn over their names and personal information, even their employment information, to be placed on a publicly accessible government list anytime they contribute to a so-called political organization. And people are afraid to do that because, of course, once your information is out there, people can target you for harassment and retaliation and even violence. In the wake of the Proposition 8 campaign in California several years ago, some opponents even made a Google Maps list of the home addresses of people who had donated money to the Yes campaign in order to enable people to go and harass them and attack them and vandalize their cars and their homes and their churches and things like that. And it's only gotten worse in the years since. So at the Goldwater Institute, we actually have a case coming up in a few days against the constitutionality of an Arizona state law that forces you to put your name and other information on a public government list when you donate to these organizations. We say that violates the constitutional protections for freedom of speech and privacy.
Yeah, so they put your name on the list. Here you are. You've contributed to whatever it is. Maybe it's an abortion rights or not abortion rights or pro-life, whatever it is. Either side of the conversation doesn't matter, but only one side of the ledger actually gets targeted, don't they? One side, Tim, not both.
Oh, it does seem to be overwhelmingly that it's conservative organizations that are targeted for this. And the reason why is ideological on the left, right? The left thinks that conservative or free market ideas are all just a sham, that secret billionaires behind the scenes are manipulating the system. And if they didn't really exist, why then we would have a proletarian socialist utopia or something like this. And so you always hear the mantra, get money out of politics. And yet the only way you can get money out of politics is to get the politics out of the money. The reason why people spend so much money in trying to influence the government is because they expect to profit from that in some way. But if the government were to limit itself to its constitutional duties, which is protecting individual rights, instead of redistributing wealth and other opportunities, then people wouldn't invest their time and money in trying to influence the government that way. So what you see on the left is this effort to constantly stamp out special interest in legislation, all this sort of thing. Well, you only have that because of government interference in the economy. Now, in Arizona, what you mentioned abortion, obviously that's a very hot issue here as elsewhere. Our clients in this lawsuit include a conservative organization that's very anti-abortion, and they are, afraid of speaking their minds because they have been targeted for harassment. Their members have been targeted for harassment. The organization itself has been targeted. And the more you force people to give up their privacy rights as the cost of doing free speech, the more you either put a target on people's back or you just make them afraid to speak out at all, which we call a chilling effect. in the legal
Which is the
jargon.
goal, I think. So
Yeah.
where are we in this Prop 211, this Arizona law? Where are we in the process? It has to be stamped out because this sort of thing, I mean, this just chills free speech, puts a deep freeze is what it does. Where are we in the process? What are your expectations?
Well, we sued challenging the constitutionality of this mandate under the state constitution. You know, you spoke about free speech earlier. Most
Right.
state constitutions actually protect free speech more than the federal constitution does. So we've gone to court, and we're now going to be arguing in the Arizona Supreme Court on the 11th against the constitutionality of this, not just under the state free speech protection, but also under the state privacy right, because many state constitutions, including Arizona's, protect the right of privacy. And, you know, the federal constitution is silent on that question. And so we say this violates, ignore the First Amendment for now, this violates our state constitutional rights. And we see that as a path in other states to make these kinds of arguments, to say, you know, we should have the right to speak our minds without having to sacrifice our privacy as the cost of doing so.
Yeah. I think that's right. Our privacy should not be sacrificed on the altar of this guy wants to know what you're up to. That's nonsense. Tim, greatly
You know,
appreciate
people
you being
speak
here.
about transparency, and
Sure.
our rule is transparency is for government, privacy is for people.
You know, I agree with that. If I give $1 to a political group, it's really none of your business. Honestly.
And as you said, stripping people of their privacy is sort of a scare tactic on the other side,
It
right?
is.
We saw this used almost a century ago. This has been used
Been done
during the
time and
civil
again.
rights movement of the 60s.
I got to leave it there. You keep us updated, would you please?
Absolutely.
On how
Thanks
this
for having
case
me.
plays out. Very important. Tim Sandifer, Vice President, Legal Affairs at the Goldwater Institute, Sheriff Norton Center for Constitutional Rights. Tim, thank you. Greatly appreciate it. All right, we got to jump here. I've got Brock around the corner. Don't go anywhere. It's the Steve Gruber Show. All right, time to check in on sports now with Brock Palmbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. In his NFL debut, Minnesota Vikings quarterback J.J. McCarthy threw 2 touchdowns and ran for another in the fourth quarter alone. And he led the Vikings to a comeback 27-24 victory over the Chicago Bears last night in Chicago. McCarthy overcame throwing an interception return for a touchdown and being sacked 3 times to get the Vikings the opening night win. Minnesota trailed the Bears 17-6 after 3 quarters of play. There were 11 games in Major League Baseball last night. American League winners included Boston, Cleveland, and Seattle. National League winners included Philadelphia, San Diego, and San Francisco. And there was one WNBA game last night. The Atlanta Dream blew out the Connecticut Sun 87-62. Ryan Howard led 5 players in double figures with 18 points. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right. So JJ came in. Did you say 3 touchdowns in the fourth?
That's correct. He threw 2 and ran for another one, all in the fourth quarter.
Interesting, because we were watching that game, the kid and I, and he says, "Yeah, he's not having a good night, tough night," and the Bears quarterback was having a big night to get things rolling, right? Anyhow, I think Brock gave up on me.
Big win for Minnesota. They're down 17-6 at the end of 3 quarters. Came back to win.
Yeah, that's it. And I think maybe JJ, his first comeback, rally, maybe that endeared him with the fans, I guess, right?
A harbinger of things to come? Who knows?
Maybe. Who knows? All right, good stuff. Hopefully Michigan can rally as well this coming week. Who does Michigan play this weekend?
Central Michigan in Ann Arbor.
Oh, yeah. With no coach, right? Or with a replacement coach or whatever.
Biff Poggi, who was former Michigan assistant,
sorry.
Now a Michigan assistant again. He was at UNC Charlotte the last couple of years.
Well, what's his name?
Biff Poggi.
Biff Poggi. All right.
Yeah, his son Henry played at Michigan during the Rodriguez Brady Hoke era, I believe.
Gotcha. All right, Brock. Thank you for that. Biff is the coach for the weekend.
That's his name, Biff Poggi.
Back to the Future. Right. Back to the Future. Anyhow, we'll take a break and be back here on the Steve Gruber Show. See you around the corner. always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent. Come on, man. We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Yes, it is. And welcome back to the conversation as we continue here, partway through a beautiful week. It's fall weather, man. It was in the 30s. In the 30s today. Yikes. Anyhow, glad to have you here as we continue the conversation. Three big things for you to know this hour. Number one, if you are a YouTube survivalist on video, maybe getting picked up by the Michigan State Police is not the coolest way to end your video. Just throwing that out there. Number two, collateral damage. I'm going to tell you about Revin. Connections to this billion-dollar drug. Miracle drug shut down by the SEC. I'll tell you about that. It's got connections to Michigan. And number three, the Sinaloa cartel has connections to every state. And what a successful operation was run by the federal government over the last couple of weeks. Sinaloa cartel members are arrested in 23 states by the Department, the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, excuse me. The numbers are remarkable. 600 plus people arrested. Let's see here. 171 suspects in New England. Part of a weeks-long operation that targeted one of the world's most powerful drug trafficking operations. The DEA announced that from August 25th to the 29th, agents arrested 617 people across 23 field division offices. And the drugs, it's just remarkable here. Let's see. 480 kilograms of fentanyl, 2,209 pounds of methamphetamine, 7,500 kilograms of cocaine, 17 kilograms of heroin, 715,000 counterfeit pills. This is why the world is so dangerous. Counterfeit pills. You think you're taking a Xanax, next thing you know, you're fighting for your life. 420 firearms, $11 million in cash. $11 million in cash. Demonstrate the full weight of the DEA's commitment to protecting the American people. Every kilogram of poison seized, every dollar stripped from the cartels, and every arrest we make represents lives saved and communities defended. The DEA will not relent until the Sinaloa cartel is dismantled from top to bottom. Jared Forget, special agent in charge of the DEA's New England division, said they are our public enemy number one in New England. The Sinaloa cartel, our public enemy number one. Yeah. What a crackdown. Congratulations. All over. Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, all over the country. What a remarkable bit of success. All right, so there's this really incredible three-part series going on in Michigan News Source I want to tell you about. J.P. Isbell is writing about a company, Revin, had a miracle drug, RJX. Went from $1 billion hope or more to being locked in legal limbo by the Security and Exchange Commission. Its assets have been frozen. Its principals, the people behind it, their assets have been frozen. Patents and trials in jeopardy. It left real people feeling abandoned. Now we turn to those voices, shareholders who became patients and advocates who say that the crackdown erased more than their money. It erased their hope. It's an anti-inflammatory, is Revin. Has more than 2,000 shareholders, had taken RJX by participating in proof of concept or pilot studies under informed consent and in accordance with applicable regulations the FDA outlines in early research. The principals of the company said that since the freeze of their company, 19 of their shareholders have died because they couldn't get access to the drug. Michigan News Source spoke with multiple shareholders, several of whom had personally received RJX treatments under the FDA protocol. They also said the principals of the company kept them consistently updated on both the drug's development and its business operations, many noting they had remained invested for more than 2 decades. This has been a long-term development. Some Michigan investors continue to believe in it. The medical promise of RGX is what first drew in Jeff, a 55-year-old Michigan investor who asked that his last name be withheld. He bought into Revin around 2020-21 because of the drug, he told us, adding, we all saw the benefit of what it was. It's an anti-inflammatory, but it has shown efficacy against sepsis. There are no drugs out there that stop sepsis. It's shown efficacy involving oncology, cancer patients. These are all studies that have been done. It's a remarkable series, and I'm telling you, go look at MichiganNewsSource.com. Jeff even tried RJX himself, hoping it might lower his A1C. He didn't use it long enough to judge his own results, but said he had heard of remarkable outcomes from phase 2 COVID trials. Looking ahead, he said he'd absolutely reinvest if given the chance. Part of his confidence comes from the company's communication. I've probably spoken to Brian, I would say no some 50 times. Brian Denemy, one of the 3 principals. And he's blunt about his frustrations with the SEC. They've done nothing to protect us at this point. All they've done is let all the patents expire and basically try to bankrupt the company. For him, the answer is simple. The drug is protection. So why not figure out why they didn't do anything wrong and let them take this drug to market? Wisconsin investors standing next to Revin and RJX even after financial losses. Deborah Bergman, 65, of Wisconsin, says she invested early to be part of the greater good. A shareholder for 21 years, she's closely tracked the company along the way. Lou Seno of Harbor Springs, Michigan, says it could be the next penicillin. RGX for nearly 2 decades believes the drug has the potential to be the next penicillin. He said he would absolutely invest again. The SEC has basically bankrupted this company. A Colorado trio of friends, Greg Marilat, 78, Byron Roderick, 85, Jack May, 89, described to Michigan News Source that they also were users of RJX as well as investors. Marilat says he's had 65 RJX treatments, crediting them with easing his peripheral neuropathy and inflammation, as well as also helping his 2 sons' autoimmune issues. The list of praise for this drug goes on. You have to read these articles to truly understand how life-changing this has been for so many people and how life-altering it's been. For the SEC to stop the studies, to stop the company, to basically let the patents run out. You see the problem with this drug from what I'm reading? It's too cheap and it solves too many problems. I don't think Big Pharma likes this drug at all. The SEC stepped in with a secret emergency complaint that cast Revin not as a medical innovator, but as a company engaged in fraud and misappropriation on an anonymous charge. And the asset squeeze began January 2023. Part 3, this is a 3-part series. Part 3 coming tomorrow. Or I guess maybe today. I'll have to check, but it's coming. MichiganNewsSource.com. Check it out. Dateline, Westminster, Colorado. This is a remarkable story about a remarkable drug that was shut down and taken away from you as an option. I'll take a break and be right back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. How about an hourly wage? What do you think of that for state lawmakers? Not an annual salary, but how about an hourly wage? What do you think of that? Well, my next guest seems to think it's a good idea. Jim DeSanta is a state representative from Carlton, Michigan. Jim, nice to have you on the program.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
All right. So I don't mind your idea. First I've heard of it. I kind of got a little chuckle out of it when I first saw it this morning. I thought, well, let's try that out. What do you get paid now? I mean, give people an idea.
We get paid $71,000 a year, and we have a expense account for if we have to stay overnight by chance. And then we also have 1 day a week that they allow us driving expense reimbursement, plus our health care.
Right. So all told, $100,000, maybe a little more?
With health care for sure, yeah.
Yeah, all right. So $100,000. State senators, similar or more?
Exactly the same.
Exactly the same. All right. So why your idea then to erase that and say, you know what, let's just have an hourly wage? Why?
Well, state legislators seem to have difficulty getting their job done, and they
You've noticed that. You know, it's funny because we noticed that too. Anyhow, go on.
And we have a hard time getting our job done in timely fashion, and it doesn't seem like there's any clock ticking other than the October 1st deadline where the government shuts down. So we're going to come right up to that deadline, and I think that if we were here and paid minimum wage, we would essentially be a part-time body, and we would get our work done quickly because we would want to get back to our normal jobs. So legislators would then have another job, and that would be in their community, and I think they'd be more in touch. I think basically state legislators are out of touch with most of Michiganians.
I think that's true. I think there's a lot of out of touch. So the number you come up with here is $13.73 an hour. Where's that number come from?
Well, I believe we've pegged it to the minimum wage that is set by Michigan.
Okay.
And it's not at $13.73 right now, but that's where it will be in January 1st of 2026 because of our escalating minimum wage that we have. We're right at what, $10.48 approximately right now.
I think that's right, and I think there's an adjustment because of legislation or because of something the voters did, right?
Right. We're going up every year for the next 2 or 3 years because of that referendum on the one fair wage that we're restricted to. That's in our law now. That's in our Constitution.
All right. So what's the chance of this passing? 0 or less than 0?
Well, this is a House joint resolution, so this is for the legislators to put this on the ballot, to put it up to a vote of the people. I think if it was put up to a vote of the people, I think it would pass. Also, as you know, the State Officers Compensation Commission has recommended a 25% pay increase effective next year for all state legislators, taking us up to a base salary of $91,000. And I don't agree with that either. I hope we reject that. I'm afraid that the state legislators will pass that and increase that next year.
Yeah. When I look at the state of Michigan, I see, it depends on what source you go to, but roughly $75 billion, unfunded retiree health care, unfunded pension liabilities, total financial burdens, $7 billion, $5 billion, $29 billion, $10 billion. It adds up to $75 billion of debt. What are we doing about that? I mean, we're talking about old road deals. We're talking about pension deals. We're talking about retirees. We're talking about public sector unions that put the thumb screws to Michigan taxpayers. I like your idea here, but we're a long way from getting our financial house in order, aren't we, Jim?
We're so far away from getting our financial house in order that most voters probably doubt we'll ever get there. we have to pass a balanced budget, obviously, but all of this debt, all of the pension debt is off the annual budget. So, Texas and Tennessee have part-time legislatures. They're doing okay compared to Michigan. In this year's budget, we cut every department. So a lot of it was the phantom jobs that you're all hearing about and the unrealized work projects. But the one budget that didn't get cut this year was the legislative budget.
Well, of course not, Jim. Don't be ridiculous. I mean, you're just being, unsensible now. By the way, I ask this of every state lawmaker I get on this program because nobody can tell me how it's possible that the state of Pennsylvania has a budget that is today $27 billion smaller than the state of Michigan. Their roads are in good shape. Their prisons are in good shape. Their police departments seem to be in better shape when it comes to those on the throughways and the interstates and so forth. How in the world can Pennsylvania, a bigger state, spend $27 billion less than Michigan and everything seems to be in better shape? Have we been that poorly run for that long?
Yes. And if you look
at... Okay, that's it.
Georgia,
yes, that's the end. Go on. I'm just kidding you.
You look at Georgia, very similar situation. Georgia runs their state on about half of what Michigan runs our state on. And we've gone from 56 billion to now, I guess we're going to end up somewhere in the mid 80s, depending upon where this budget deal ends up. And it's the increase and the run up. I don't think the residents have seen the quality of education, quality of our roads, quality of how
our third graders can't read. Our eighth graders can't do math. Our roads are garbage. You'll knock your fillings right loose if you go down half the roads in my neighborhood. It's all true, Jim. We need to clean up our act. Appreciate you being here. I love your idea. Minimum wage for the lawmakers until you deserve a raise. Got to leave it there, sir. Thank you.
Have a great day, Steve.
That's good. I like it. $13.73 an hour to be a state lawmaker. It should get traction. It won't, of course. Jim DeSanta from Carlton. Carlton, you ought to be proud. Good man there. I'll be right back. All right, here I've got two outdoor stories for you. Two, let's go hug the trees and kiss the bunny stories. All right, you're gonna love this. All right, first one, a 36-year-old California woman who considers herself to be a survivalist, a YouTube survivalist, has to be picked up in Otsego County's Pigeon River Forest. That's in Michigan. She came here to film a YouTube survival challenge. Well, she was picked up by the Michigan State Police from the Gaylord Post. Yeah, nothing says I'm a survivalist quite like getting a helicopter ride out before breakfast. Yeah, maybe you ought to rethink your career choice. The show's host failed to locate her, called 911. The troopers spotted her in a swampy area. That's a big swamp in that part of the state of Michigan. All right, here's your next outdoor story. Could be friends of Anthony's. I don't know. I don't know who these people are. 4 hikers on psychedelic mushrooms rescued in popular mountain destination. One member suffered from a debilitating high. Way too high to keep walking.
Oh, yeah, I was there.
Yeah, these are Anthony's buddies. Let's see. New York's Catskill Mountains for this one. They became disoriented, straying off the trail. The group called for help 5 o'clock, August 29, when a member of their group had a debilitating high, according to the Department of Environmental Conservation. By the way, less than 1,000 feet from the trail. Man, that must have been some serious psychedelic mushroom.
Sounds like a bunch of liberals can't handle their stuff.
Hey, man, you want to go hiking? Yeah, I'm with you on that, Anthony. I'm with you. Good Lord. These people are a mess. Anyhow, let's see. This part of the program brought to you by my good friends at Great Lakes Pet Food. Great Lakes Pet Food, American-made dog food. When Ivy and I went looking for American-made dog food, we found one in West Michigan. Great Lakes Pet Food, we've used it for more than 5 years now. It's the best dog food, pure chicken, turkey, pork, no fillers, no Chinese garbage to feed your pets, right? Just good stuff. GreatLakesPetFood.com. Find out more. Best dog food you're going to have. Ship it anywhere in America. GreatLakesPetFood.com. They'll put it on your doorstep. You'll be happy they did. When I come back, Lara Logan is going to be with me. Lara Logan, right after the break here on the Steve Gruber Show. All right, let me share some numbers with you. I've been running the numbers here again this morning. I can share with my next guest here. And these numbers are important because it proves that fighting crime works. despite what Jasmine Crockett might say, you know, police are not here to prevent crime, says Jasmine Crockett. I would have to disagree. Lara Logan is with me, the host of Going Rogue with Lara Logan, an award-winning journalist, of course, from so many different places she's been around the world. Lara, nice to have you back on the program.
I just lost her video unexpectedly.
All right, well, go with audio. Can she hear us? Lara, there she is. Perfect. There she is.
Can you still see and hear me?
I can see you now. Lara, how are you today?
Okay. All right. I'm good. Thank you, Steve. How are you doing?
I'm good. Okay, I'm going to share some numbers with you here from D.C. that proves that Jasmine Crockett is wrong and you and I are right, and this is it. 5 homicides, 29 days in D.C. 5 homicides, 29 days. Think about that. That would come out to 63 murders a year annually in Washington, D.C., a city that normally has 200 or more. It cuts it to less than a third. What they're doing in D.C. is working, and it's going to happen in other cities. But the left would have you believe that somehow this is a terrible thing to do, to cut the number of murders and carjackings and everything. It's insane to defend criminals, isn't it?
Well, is that really what they're doing, Steve? Are they really defending criminals, or are they standing up for the paramilitary force that's been inserted into this country in order to act as a kind of army for America's domestic and foreign enemies? Because if you look at it, that's pretty much what Donald Trump's administration has told you you're looking at. When they declared the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, it wasn't simply because they wanted to be tough on crime. It was because the Trump administration has recognized what many people across this country already know, which is that the United States today is facing a coalition of its adversaries, which are terrorist organizations, traditional Islamic terrorist organizations, Iranian Revolutionary Guard out of Iran, working together with the CCP, working together with Sinaloa Cartel out of Mexico, and CJNG and Tren de Aragua and Cartel del Sol out of Venezuela. So what you have is foreign governments like the Chinese Communist Party that has introduced fentanyl, for example, as a street drug. Now, many Americans would tell you, well, you know, the cartels are drug organizations. No, what they're practicing here is drug warfare. Every addict isn't just some person who, you know, couldn't get their life together or gave into the temptation of drugs. They are people who have been exploited, and they are casualties on the battlefield of war.
I would agree with you on that.
Warfare. Yeah, I mean, look at the Chinese. The Chinese lost Taiwan to the British through drug warfare. They know exactly how this game is played. Why did Xi Jinping, when Trump asked him in the first administration to ban fentanyl, he said, sure. You know why, Steve? Because he knew that they had already farmed out the manufacture of fentanyl to the cartels in Mexico.
That's
right. So it's not about the money. It's about destabilizing America from within.
So when the components of fentanyl are manufactured in China, then shipped to Mexico, where they're combined into the final product and then pushed over the border in the United States, is that not an act of war from China and an act of war from the nation of Mexico? Because I would argue it's an act of war from both.
Correct. It is. And it's not just that, Steve. The Chinese have trained Mexican pharmacists and scientists and other people in how to make these drugs. When the DEA was going into drug labs in Sinaloa and other places, they're arresting Chinese pharmacists. You know, the Mexican cartels are not stupid. They've been sending their kids to American universities, teaching them how to manufacture these narcotics for a very long time. And if you know, I went to the homeless camps in San Francisco a few years ago when I was filming for a show of mine, and I had to go to 3 different camps before I could find a human being that was capable of completing a sentence that I could put on television without feeling like I was humiliating them and doing something awful. And why is that? Because we are no longer dealing with narcotics that grow in the ground, that are just naturally produced by the earth. We are now dealing with chemical compounds that can be enhanced in any way, shape, or form that cause permanent damage. And the solution from the left is to throw Narcan at it so that you can save a life in the immediate moment. But what are you doing? You're not addressing addiction. You're not addressing the invasion of narcotics. And every street gang in America and every street gang in the world, their #1 currency is narcotics. and the cartels control almost 100% of the manufacture of narcotics. So these are enemy combatants. And these foreign paramilitary organizations, the reason you have so much violence in Chicago is not because people in Chicago are more violent or more disposed to, crime. It's because you have a complete invasion of these foreign paramilitary organizations, and you have people in power who are unwilling to do anything about it, or they are complicit. And so Tren de Aragua, which was created by Nicolas Maduro, the head of Venezuela, when he went into the prisons, he had his people go and recruit the most violent criminals. They weren't people who did something wrong and, got sent to prison. No, these were people who were violent to begin with. He created a foreign paramilitary organization, and then he invaded the United States with the assistance
Let me ask you
of the
this.
Biden administration and all the open border ideologues in this country. And they inserted that Chicago was one of the cities where they were sent with specific orders to cause violence between the black gangs and the Italian gangs.
And create
And that's why
problems.
you're seeing all these murders.
Okay,
And by
so
the way, Steve, you're going to love this part, okay?
Go ahead.
What's their political agenda? Is to destabilize these cities. So say, for example, there were going to be arrests and indictments. We know what would happen. Antifa would kick into overdrive, ordered to do so by the puppet masters, right? The political puppet masters. And who would be the people assisting them? Well, it would be the cartels, wouldn't it? It'd be these foreign paramilitary organizations and terrorists who are in there burning down cities. And, you have to wonder, is this just about crime? It's definitely about crime. But is it also about cleaning up these people who have no allegiance towards the United States, whose goal is to come in here and disrupt and destroy and burn American cities to the ground? And Trump is being smart this time. He's taking care of it in advance. He's not having any of it.
No, exactly true. So here's the thing. Chicago, they are going in. It's just a matter of what day they decide to go and how it looks, whether it's the FBI, the National Guard. I don't know. They're going in. I've got people that I know on the ground that have been there for the last 30 days trying to diagram, if you will, these cartel operations. They're going in. My question is, are we going into Venezuela? What do you think? We've got about, I'm going to hold you through the break here, but real quick, are we going into Venezuela, Lara? What do you think?
Well, we don't know is the honest answer, right? But when you put American warships off the coast of Venezuela and you declare the president of that country to be a known wanted terrorist and criminal, you're sending a very clear message that the state of play, the way things have been handled up till now, is no longer how things will go going forward. So it wouldn't surprise me. I've talked to a couple of people who are, who know how to do these things and who may or may not be involved. And what they have indicated is that they see Maduro either going into, into the hinterland, kind of like the FARC in Colombia, and being forced into a guerrilla type of role, or they see him foolishly trying to take on the United States. And I say foolishly not because I'm being sort of, pejorative, and I'm saying it because the United States military, the full power.
All right, now hold
and
that thought.
force.
Let's hold that thought because we did take out 11 TDA members in their boat. It was kind of
That's nothing.
interesting. That's just a start. I understand. Hold that thought.
That's
Lara Logan
nothing.
with us here.
Yeah.
Lara Logan with us here on the Secret Show. We'll take a break and be right back with her after this. All right, here we go back into it now. Lara Logan's with us. And Lara, just before we went to break, we talked about these 11 gangbangers getting smoked by the U.S. military. Just the beginning. Now I see that Venezuela is putting out a bunch of fishing boats with their other boats and their drug runners so they can basically use human shields, which is strictly prohibited in warfare, but they don't care what the rules are. Look, here's what I find so irritating. People like Chuck Todd, a fake journalist, out there, screaming his head off that this is terrible, that we attacked a bunch of drug runners and drug dealers and cartel members in open international waters unfairly. The fact of the matter is we have to fight back. We have to fight back against the fentanyl, against the methamphetamines, against all the drugs pouring over our border, and those people, like you said, these military-age men that have come from China, South America, Central America, all of it, right?
You're 100% correct. That's exactly what's happening here. And that's why people are left in shock and reeling, right? Because they're either deluded or they're so ideologically blinded they don't want to see the truth, or they're just, just torn up with hatred for President Trump. And so they're not actually looking at what has happened to the United States. This country has been invaded by a number of, really dark forces that seek to destroy American families, destroy American communities. I mean, think about it, Steve. These are the same people that when the parents of children who have died from fentanyl poisoning want justice, they fight these people. They have poured millions of dollars into academic papers and research in our universities. They have NGOs who are dedicated to making sure that these families never get justice. And you have to ask yourself, why would you want our society, our communities, why would you want them to be absolutely riven with narcotics? And we're not talking about, smoking a little weed here and there. Those days are gone. If you talk to anyone involved in counter narcotics today, they will be honest with you and let you know that today weed is laced with methamphetamines because the cartels are practicing, they're engaged in drug warfare. And it's sort of outrageous that, people are putting a burden on us to stand by and allow this country to be destroyed. If they want to be ignorant and blind to what's happening around them, there's nothing that you or I can do about that. But it doesn't put it, certainly I'm not going to fall for that. I'm absolutely not standing by and staying silent. And what has happened is that the cartels of old, who are the terrorist organizations of today, they just found out with that airstrike that you mentioned before the break, when
right.
They were in the boat, right? And everybody's up in arms. Oh, how dare you? How dare you? You people don't understand what you're looking at. This is counterterrorism operations underway. And it doesn't just mean one boat that's going down. And the cartels know this because it hasn't been a fair fight, Steve. If you're in rural Texas like I am, right?
Right.
A lot of your police stations and your sheriff stations, they've got one guy on duty.
That's right.
There's nobody coming for hours if anything happens to you, okay? The cartels build their own cell networks. They build all their own encrypted technology. They build entire submarines just to flood your country with one load of drugs, and then they abandon that. They build walls made out of $100 bill stacks. They have just more money than they know what to do with. And so law enforcement is a failed model when trying to counter these organizations, not to mention the fact that jurisdiction ends at the borders of the United States.
Yeah, let me
and
ask
anywhere
you this.
we have jurisdiction. Yeah.
As we roll this out, as Donald Trump rolls this out, do we have a chance to get the upper hand? We've been behind the 8 ball on this for a very long time, 8 ball being an operative word, apparently. But the fact of the matter is we've been behind that 8 ball for a long time. Can we get the upper hand?
Come on, Steve. Seriously? This is the United States of America. Of course we can get the upper hand. Listen, they only tell you things like that when they want you to surrender. That's about making you think that you can't win this. Are you kidding me? We have never used, according to multiple people in the U.S. military who I've spoken to over the years, we've never used more than 10% of our advanced military capability on the battlefield, let alone when dealing with cartels. So is it possible? Yes, of course it's possible.
It's a certainty if Donald Trump is allowed to do it. He has to be allowed to do it. He can't be blocked even by, look, there's Republicans
Correct.
that stand there and chew their fingernails because they're nervous about what might happen in their next election. It's time to drop the damn hammer and do what needs to be done. And that
Yeah.
boat coming out of Venezuela should just be an example, because if you blow a few boats up, suddenly they're not going to be running drugs quite as easily. If you do the same thing with people coming across the border, and do the same thing, and I'm sorry, but leave a few bodies on the battlefield, it will change the battle itself. I'll give you the last word.
Steve, these people actually, I mean, they cut people's hearts out and eat them. Okay, they practice the occult. They murder people across Venezuela and Mexico every single day. I mean, if you're talking about a couple of bodies on the battlefield, I mean, look at the battlefields of Mexico and Venezuela and what has
Absolutely.
happened to the people living there. It's an absolute disgrace. Okay, journalists are killed every day, ordinary people. They have figured out how to sever people's limbs, pump them full of heroin, and keep them alive with just a torso so that they can torture them. I mean, these are, among some of the worst people on earth. And you are correct, okay, when you say that, Donald Trump has to be allowed to use them. Well, he has the legal authority, but does he have the political will backing him? Because he certainly has the will of the people. And you say, Republicans are worried about the next election. Is that what they're worried about, or are they on the take? Have they been paid off by the
That's
cartels,
a fair question.
or the CCP, or one of the many people that are involved in this kill chain, which has invaded this country and is tearing our communities and our families apart?
All
And I
those
just,
are
the
legitimate
one thing
questions.
I want to say is we cannot forget the parents of kids who have died of fentanyl, because there but for the grace of God go I. And my
Yeah.
heart breaks for every single one of them.
And sadly, I know some of those parents. I know a couple of
Me
them.
too.
It's a terrible, heartbreaking thing to have that. When you get those messages, heartbreaking. Lara Logan, I greatly appreciate it. Next time we talk, I'm going to ask you about the 600,000 Chinese students coming to America, because that is something
They
I
know.
don't agree with the
Just
president.
say no.
Just say no.
They're not students, they're spies.
Yeah. Lara Logan, appreciate you as always. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Take
Really
care.
appreciate it, yeah. Just say no. She's right. It's a war. Act like it's a war. I'll be right back. Are you ready? All right, so the war on drugs is a war to be won. And it's an interesting statistic that I'd not considered until Lara Logan had put it out there. We've never used 10% of our high-tech military equipment on the battlefield. I'm going to have to ask some of my colleagues about that would know. I think that might be perfectly exactly true, in fact. Might be perfectly exactly true. And if it is, then obviously, look, I have no question that we can target our enemies in the drug cartels with laser precision. And the only question is why wouldn't you do it? Maybe she's right about being on the take. Maybe she's right that some of these politicians are simply on the take. That their bank accounts are benefiting from looking the other way. And I do know people whose children have died from fentanyl, and I think it's awful, horrible revelation when that happens. Good kids. Good kids that, made a mistake. When we were younger, we'd go out and be in college or high school, whatever, and you experiment with this or that. It didn't kill us, generally speaking. It's scary as hell now. One pill because it's a counterfeit. Counterfeit pills floating around on the streets. These things are just, it's the thing that nightmares are made of. It's the thing that nightmares are made. It doesn't matter how strong you are, tough you are, anything else. One bad decision. Just one. I think that it is certainly time to take the fight to them. I agree with that. Lara Logan, really appreciated having her today. Let's see, coming on the next couple of days, Dr. Drew will be with me. Dr. Drew Pinsky is going to be with me later this week. That'll be exciting. I'm sure you'll want to tune in for that and so much more. Follow me on all the social media platforms. Hit that like button. Smash it, as Anthony says. Fight the good fight. Keep the faith. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. This is the Steve Gruber Show. Remember, only you can save America. And remind me again, who do you want in your foxhole? We'll talk about it tomorrow.